When I think back about my 20 plus years, one, it's surprising to me that it's been that long. But two, it's like the things I cared about when I started and what I wanted my book to look like and what I wanted my reputation to be is completely different now. Like, I went to school for graphic design. I was very design oriented, and that's in my bones. That's never going to go away. But I spend the most of my day now writing and directing, video shoots and commercials, leading campaigns and strategy sessions and stuff like that. I see the same exact thing with AI. Granted, it is far more impactful than I think social media is going to be, and it is far more widespread in terms of how it's going to affect communication and just operations in the world, right? Personally, at company and brand levels, organization, like all of that stuff.
On Creative Assembly's The Spark podcast, our mission is to amplify Nashville's diverse creative voices, foster growth through shared journeys, and inspire a city that thrives on collaboration. And now, here's The Spark.
Welcome back to The Spark. I'm your host, Mark Scrivner, and today I'm joined by a special guest, Michael Hutzel. He's the co-founder and creative director of FoxFuel. Michael, man, I've been looking forward to having you on the show for a long time. We have had some amazing creative directors, people that have been in the business for a long time. And just what I know about you is, and I think I've mentioned this to you, I think you're one of the most creative guys in town with one of the brightest futures in this space. And so it's exciting to have you on the show today, man.
It's great to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, maybe just to kick us off, maybe just talk a little bit about your journey. I know you went to Western Kentucky University, got your graphic design degree, but just what got you to Nashville? What got you into this? What were some of your first jobs in the space?
So Western Kentucky University, when I went there, was one of the top photojournalism schools in the country. And the art school there had a specific graphic design program, which was a little bit unique for the area. So that stuck out to me. And I also had a sibling that was going there, already graduated. So I was pretty familiar with the school. And it actually offered in-state tuition to where I was living with my parents, which was in Sumner County. So all those boxes basically, checked. And I was like, let's go. And when I went there, the design program was great. And I was loving it, and it was kind of very validating. I was taking a lot of studio art classes too, which was kind of scratching my original passion, which was drawing. And one of the things that I kind of realized was the photojournalism program, the journalism school, had a top-ranked student newspaper. And I probably got the idea sophomore year. I was like, I think I need to be a part of that. So I went in there, and all the people who were working the paper were in the journalism school, and they were putting together a great publication, but there were some little areas here and there where I could tell maybe they needed some more designers. So I applied, got in, made basically nothing. And I think the biggest thing that I kind of walked away with my time there was the insane dedication that staff had. I was putting in ridiculous hours. I was already working long hours in the studio. And I remember leaving that paper 2-3 o'clock in the morning to get it out. And so I think what I didn't know it at the time. I really even when I left college, I look back and I'm like, I was kind of an idiot. I didn't know what, just
building a work ethic.
That's exactly right. Just seeing people, how I felt like I always had a good work ethic. I think my parents instilled that in me. And I think I have it, just genetically. But seeing it done for creative professionals in that capacity and people who are driven to that really imprinted on me. And so leaving college and getting my first job, it was kind of a high bar already for the product that was getting produced and the effort it took to do it right. I have no idea if they're still pulling those types of hours. I don't know if that's 100% necessary, but I was blown away. The photography that they would put in, the quality of the writing, all of that definitely planted a lot of seeds for me in terms of the way I work and the process that I kind of have for creating good work. So.
Well, now that you've been in Nashville for a while, I know you've spent over a decade working for multiple agencies and done some great work. When was the time that you said, man, I want to go do something different and stop building for other people?
Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to get an opportunity to work at GS&F. It was still Gish Sherwood and Friends when I started there. And they hired me to work on the LP account. And because I was assigned to that account, I got to work very closely with the then CEO, Jeff Lipscomb. And so I remember my first week, towards the end of the week, I went to a meeting at LP's headquarters in downtown Nashville at the top of a high rise. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking out at Nashville. I'm not even in my 30s yet. I was very intimidated. I hope I didn't let it on, but he probably could suss it out in me. He basically threw it to me in this boardroom to discuss some web projects that we were working on. And I don't know. I don't know if he would say this, but I feel like he saw something in me. I think he's probably had dozens of people in his long, great career that have come along that he's, identified something. But looking back on it, I could tell that he spent a little extra time and put a little bit more attention into me. Long story short, I was there for nearly 5 years. I mean, during my course of time there, he talked to me about opportunities and I could see you doing this, and that was the first time that my kind of aspirations changed from like I want to be the head creative guy to why can't I do that? Maybe I can learn this business, and maybe I can sit in a boardroom and not completely embarrass myself and all of that kind of stuff. And so he probably doesn't even know this, although I've tried to tell him multiple times through email and over coffee and lunch and all that confidence that he showed me changed my life. It really did, just because it was maybe a little bit of arrogance that he instilled in me, or just self-belief that I could do more. And then all of a sudden, it changed what I looked for in terms of opportunities, and it's a direct correlation for FoxFuel.
Yeah.
So he kind of planted that seed in my head that I could spin something off. At first it was, talking about possibilities, and none of that came to fruition with him. And there was a dozen reasons why that happened, but that belief never went away from me because he believed in it. And so, just what a gift that's been. And now, we're getting close to 12 years in, and we've had the fortune to go up against them for some stuff, and some we've won, some we've lost, and all that. And it's just, I can't talk about how much I have respect for him and some of the other people who take the time to mentor the younger people.
So important. And I've listened to things that you've said in the past, and I know Jeff was a big influence. And he's a great guy and he's humble, but he's a great humble leader that
Consummate
I know
account man.
Has got good people that have came out of GS&F. And
absolutely.
It's great to hear that story. But so he was really a person that gave you the confidence that, hey, I can go out and do this on my own, build my own thing. Mm-hmm. What gap did you see in the early days, maybe that you thought you and your two co-founders were going to solve for Nashville?
Yeah, I get asked a lot, especially if I'm talking to designers or other, creative students, or, just even younger professionals, how do you do this? Because I think a lot of people do realize that being good at your craft is a small part of it. I think I go back to that. Those mentors, the people that I really gravitated to, represented different aspects of the agency business. They weren't just creative directors that I admired. I mean, it started out that way for me. Mm-hmm. But once I kind of broadened my horizons, or kind of like my scope of what I was looking at, it definitely became a little bit more about if I learn how to manage this account, or if I learn how to create a better strategy, not only is that rounding me out, but that's allowing me to be a better creative director. And so that was kind of the big aha. And there was a lot of aspects of that I would consider kind of contributed to that. It was those sides of the business, but it was also beyond design. Mm-hmm. How does becoming a good writer help you? What is it that means when you're away from your computer? And so I kind of became enamored, and truth be told, I'm still kind of in this space of what are all the connective things to the core of where I started. And I very much try to be a jack of all trades, if you will, because I do think that all of that has a really significant impact on doing what I love to do, which is developing creative ideas and seeing them from, conception to completion. So I think it was that in doing that, you do realize what you're really not great at. And so one easy thing is like, I have a good knowledge for the finances of like the business, but I'm not good with numbers. I have a very good instinct for client relations and stuff like that, but I'm not always the best person to work a room. And there are other aspects that I have really, had some deep dives in career-wise, which would be like web design and, other, specific aspects of it. And a lot of the video, and a lot of those require team efforts. And so versus maybe a branding project where I could do that from start to finish, or an advertising campaign. So those really kind of taught me the true meaning of collaboration, right? And how to articulate a vision with the team and get that spread out. And so in doing that, really realized like, hey, I'm never going to be able to do development, not at the level of my business partner, Joe Betcher. I'm never going to be able to woo a room or work a room or get somebody excited like an idea like Colton Mulligan. And so as I identified my own shortcomings and weaknesses, or things that I'm honestly not interested in developing, it became a little bit more of an easier organic process to surround myself with people who made me better. And I would contribute that with not the start of FoxFuel, but the success of FoxFuel. Getting that formula right has proven to be crucial for us, knowing how we work together and how we separate. What's your lane? What's my lane? How do those things come together? So long story short, what I tell students is know yourself, know what you love, know what you're good at, and know what you suck at, and act accordingly.
Yeah. Well, I know you do mentor a lot of young students and teach and whatnot, or you have in the past. And but that is such a valuable lesson of what I've watched your team, like, and you guys, surrounding yourself. I bet you the three of you are like a superhuman going into any kind of room where you're trying to pitch an idea. It's like, Colton's got all the ideas. You actually can dream it up. Joe can probably execute on all of it. So exactly it's, right. It's exciting to see. And, but, that lesson that I get from you is you're a constant learner. And, I think we do have a lot of young students that listen to this podcast. And I think, for somebody out there that's aspiring to be a creative director, I just have continued to watch you lean in and learn about the video, and you've done some amazingly big video projects, and, branding and strategy, all that that's what you came in with. And I just see so many creative directors. It's like, no, I'm a creative director. All I do is write. Yeah. Well, I'm a creative director. All I do is design or brand. Yeah. And for you, being that multifaceted creative director is very, very valuable and powerful.
Yeah, well, thank you. I think it's always in the eye of the beholder. I do think that thinking about yourself or your career outside of very well-defined categories or boxes can be scary. And the reason why I know that is because that describes the first 5+ years of my career. I think that one of my sicknesses is that I really do enjoy the vulnerability of trying something that I know that I'm not good at yet. And I also love defying expectations. It's been said that I have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about things. And so it's not just about being successful in terms of getting, a campaign done or something. Sometimes it's just about like, I want to prove to everybody that I can do this well. And I get a lot of satisfaction out of doing that. And the reason why I do is because what we do is still pretty narrow. It's pretty specialized. And so the last thing I want to do is niche down even more in that very specialized area. But I appreciate you do saying that. When I think back about my 20 plus years, one, it's surprising to me that it's been that long. But two, it's like the things I cared about when I started and what I wanted my book to look like and what I wanted my reputation to be is completely different now. Like, I went to school for graphic design. I was very design oriented, and that's in my bones. That's never going to go away. But I spend the most of my day now writing and directing, video shoots and commercials, leading campaigns and strategy sessions and stuff like that. It's not stuff that I learned in school. The base blocks of it are, I think what I learned in school was how to learn how to do this stuff, how to wield capability, how to jump in the water and then figure out how to swim on some of that stuff. I mean, I had some video shoot experiences, in my, 20s and stuff like that. And I think back on, I was like, that did not go well. Nobody will ever see that video because it's so terrible. I'm sure the crew was looking at me and be like, this guy does not know what he's doing. Why is he here? All that kind of stuff. Versus now, I might still have that, but I care less.
Yeah.
So it's funny how a little bit of that time and those projects and a little bit of gray hair will change people's perceptions of you. But sometimes I still feel like that person where I'm like, what am I doing? Imposter syndrome is what people usually call it. I know that that's a good place to be because I know I'm growing. And so I guess I'm kind of used to being a little uncomfortable is what I'm getting at. And
if you don't have a little bit of that imposter syndrome, you probably got too big of an ego, right? Yeah. And it's like
or you're
that
resting
humility.
On your laurels,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Support for The Spark comes from our sponsor, Snapshot. Building something that matters takes more than a good idea. It takes a brand people trust and a system that reaches the right people. Snapshot is a performance-driven marketing agency that helps businesses grow with strategy, creativity, and measurable results. To learn how to build scalable systems for sustainable growth, visit the link in our show notes. As we were doing research, I read something that you wrote about branding not being like a flowchart. And something that a brand built purely on like guidelines ends up polished but lifeless. Like, where'd that come from?
I mean, the people who have worked at FoxFuel or interned at FoxFuel, and my clients are probably so tired of me waxing poetic about this, but I do feel like there's this tendency for the people who think analytically or scientifically to try to apply a structure to what I consider to be a very artful process, a very free-flowing process. And it's all done in the correct ratios, right? So, you want to have good project management. You want to be, good stewards of the client's time and dollars, and you want to check those metrics and make sure that you're not spending too much time or resources over delivering or under delivering. I mean, all of those things are, to be clear, I'm not dismissing that, but there is a tendency for some people to tightly ratchet down that process because I think it makes it more approachable for a lot of people. It's steps 1 through 12, and some agencies even want to brand that, package it, and sell it. I get the merits of it. What I think it does is it makes the work a basic commodity. I think you start seeing a lot of sameness. And so I'm a proponent for putting in those guidelines and those things, but making sure that the process is not dictating the product. And so there's a lot of different ways to kind of go about that. But, if the client's most interested in checking those 12 boxes, and not in the quality of the work, what I would say at minimum is that they're not a good fit for Foxfuel or for me.
Yeah.
And the way that we kind of talk about it, and what I think where you're getting at, what a lot of my rants, I don't even call them rants, what a lot of my rants are about are personality and making sure that a brand has one and making sure that the who is more important than the what. We work with a lot of B2B brands, whether in healthcare, tech, what have you. Nashville's, teeming with those types of brands. And the tendency for them, forest for the trees, is to lose sight of, hey, you still have to make a human connection. So I feel like we're out there trumpeting, like, you need to have a vibe. And the best way that we've been able to show brands that is by doing that for ourselves. FoxFuel is very vibe oriented. We definitely communicate what we do, but the first thing you're going to glean when you come from our website is what we're about as people. What do we like? What's our sense of humor? All that stuff. And I think even if you're doing, very obscure tech behind the scenes products for a healthcare organization, billing, blah, 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 like the most obscure white labeled thing that you could think of, when you're in that sales process, you need to have personality. And maybe that personality isn't witty or funny or snarky, but it has to be something. So I think we spend a lot of time trying to pull that out, and that's not a checklist process. That's a spend time, learn, connect with people, and I love it.
I see that too in your. I get your emails, and they're very clever. Thanks. And very creative, and I mean you do get that off your website as well. So. I mean, great job on that.
Thanks.
What is a brand that you like look to that you go, this is exactly what we try to emulate? Or maybe a couple that you go, this is kind of where we get this philosophy from.
I don't know. I think that there are a couple great examples of it. The one I use a lot with students who are, on the, different, gamut of like product designers, right? Whatever they're interested in doing, or video people, what have you. Dollar Shave Club is a great example of how personality can run the day. Their delivery method is, pretty ubiquitous. It's just shipped direct to home, whatever. And the product is a commodity. They don't create new products. They might have some sub brands now, but the way that they had success is the way that they announced themselves, the vibe, the CEO having a personality, and that's felt in the brand. And so that connected and resonated with people. And then they were ready to hear their value proposition. So I think that that's a really great example. Another example is GoDaddy. GoDaddy didn't come out and give anything that was unique at the time, but they were louder and they were more personality and vibe oriented. And so now they're synonymous with domains and hosting. So I think that agencies at their best can champion that idea that what you do matters, but who you are can be the most important thing, especially when you're swimming in a field of competition and noise and all of that. Those are two examples. For me, a home base for me is always Nike. Talk about getting into a space where a commercial can move you. And ultimately, I think that if I were to reset my whole career, I think I would want to go into the movies or TV show production. I have a really a lot of respect and kind of love for what can be done well in that medium. And if I can get somebody to get teary-eyed or laugh at something, that fills my cup for months.
Yeah.
Even if nobody ends up seeing it, if I get moved by it or the client does, that really sticks with me.
It's
so
just that
Nike's
storytelling.
That's
right?
exactly right. I think Nike has done a really great job of that for 40 plus years now. So that one's a really great example of how elevated storytelling can really change a whole industry.
Well, just looking at your site and seeing some of your clients and seeing some of the work you've done, I mean, you work with some really big brands like HCA, Bridgestone, Tennessee Titans, just to name a few, but I know other big brands. Yeah. And it's like when you look at some of those brands, you think they probably want to be more conservative as they go out. And so when you work with them, how do you balance that? We got to kind of lean out on the edge, but at the same time, we can't go too far. Like what's the approach with those big brands?
I think it's a day in, day out, relationship oriented. Fight's too strong of a word, but it's a dance. It's a dance every day. I do think that we're not always right. There are situations when we have really great client relationships, which I'll shout out a couple right now. We MTE, Middle Tennessee Electric is a great example. They really know how to use us as a foil and vice versa. And so in discussions and collaborations with them, it's really worked out well for us to push a little bit when we need to, but never leave who they really are. And so a lot of ways, the stuff that we've done over the past 2 or 3 years, I'm, one, immensely proud of, and two, I think that relationship really reflects what FoxFuel's capable of. But I also think, too, it's not about us casting a vision or any kind of thing on it. We're showing a mirror up to who they are truly. And so that has a great deal of authenticity to it. And there's aspirational messages and stuff that we have on it, but they're all genuine. So I think in that case, that's just as much their credit as it is ours, because they have been such a good collaborator and client partner throughout that whole process. And I'd argue they get it. They get what we can do, and they get who they are, and they advocate for both when appropriate. So I think that's been a really great relationship. I definitely think, for the other ones, this is another, to go back to what we were talking about with the account management, what you're talking about to me is not always solved with what I do. It's not always in the creative director's ability to fix that. That has to do with the landscape that the accounts department or the account executive or the principal, in our case, kind of set the stage in the relationship so that there is a little bit of that healthy tension. We can kind of push this. But you're exactly right. We sit down with countless clients, and they always will end up with what they are. This is what we do. We do this, this, and this. And so it becomes a little bit statistical. It gets dry. And it's accurate, but it's forgettable. So it is a daily thing to push for that. And we win some and we lose some.
Yeah. Well, I think I read you teach right now at NOSI, College of Design. And so you're teaching graphic designers. And I loved your story early on about Jeff and taking you into the room, and you had to present at a very young age, and it gave you that confidence. What do you, when you're teaching these young students coming out wanting your job down the road, what do you teach them about? What's important about that first time presentation when you get in that seat?
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, I'd say, I usually say getting the reps in is a big part of it. You are definitely going to improve. Just like anything else in life, you're not going to be fantastic at it on the first thing. I do think that people do have a natural proclivity. What's helped me is having mentors, but also having a good command of what it is that you're presenting, right? And so what I do now, and what I try to bake into when we're reviewing work, either if I'm talking to a student in a classroom environment, like at previous gigs at NOSI, or if I'm just doing portfolio reviews at Belmont, or I'm just talking to a student that's reached out for coffee, I always accept, or anything in between. And then just people on my team, the critique or the review is always based in the, how do you going to articulate this idea? And so just in them presenting it to me, it's having an understanding and a strategic perspective, or why that you've created something. And in that story, you're also presenting another thing that I think is very important, is that you care. You've spent time on this, you care about this idea in a lot of capacities. When you go into that room, you've spent more time on this problem than anybody else in the room, even the CEO, who makes a lot more money than you do, at HCA, whatever the client is. You've spent more time on that. And so I take a lot of confidence in that. And I think I try to communicate that to the students, because they kind of have the tendency to go in. To be clear, not everybody's built for that room. And so I think that there's a lot of merit in trying it, and then realizing hey, I'm sick to my stomach, I don't want to do this, or I was terrible at it. And I think that that's okay too. Not everybody's going to be in that room. Not all creative directors have to pitch. But you did learn something about yourself. But even if you don't have that, presentation skills are huge. because you still have to sell it to your boss.
Mm-hmm. That's a
Or
great
you have to sell
point.
it to us. And so to think that you're going to be a creative professional in any capacity and that you don't have to do sales, you're out of your mind. It's a very sales-oriented job. Everything you do is selling an idea.
Mm-hmm.
So
What a good point, man. That is a great point that I don't know that many people have mentioned that in the past on this podcast. So thank you for shouting that out. And then I guess just with what you're seeing right now with university students, because I know you also lean into some other universities around town and give one-off presentations about the world. But what are you seeing as like a misconception of what students actually perceive versus reality of day-to-day agency operations?
So I do think that there's been a commonality with huge technological waves that come in. And so probably about 5 years, maybe even less than that, a few years into my career, social media really hit. And I just dated myself significantly, but oh well.
You still look like you're 30. So, I mean, you're probably going to look like that the rest of your life.
Let's make the lights dimmer in here. Yeah, so, and to me, going through that as a young professional, it was a huge opportunity for me because I kind of got this opportunity to like come in and like help people with the change because they just naturally assumed that I was part of it. And when you're younger, it's easier to like pick up things. You can be an early adopter and all that kind of stuff. But the truth is like I wasn't really doing anything special on it. I just wasn't afraid of it. So, but what I noticed in the industry, you know, and I kind of transitioned from a publishing company into agency land in Nashville, and really the fear and the excitement about it was kind of the same about social media everywhere. And it was like this, I'm excited about it. I know we should be doing it, but I don't know what to do. And so people had a hard time grasping like how to start. Where do I begin? And, you know, is in doing it helpful and you know, helping us learn? I see the same exact thing with AI. Granted, it is far more impactful than I think social media is going to be, and it is far more widespread in terms of how it's going to affect communication and just operations in the world, right? Personally, you know, at company and brand levels, organization, like all of that stuff. But I see a very similar emotional reaction that I saw on that. And I think for people who are craftspeople, like designers or writers, there's always this fear of it's going to change my job so much or it's going to take away my job so much that they put it in a box and leave it and they don't open it. And so I think that that's the thing that I've been trying to communicate to students that are graduating, and rightfully so. They're very nervous about what the job market looks like. I think AI is a contributor to that, but I don't think it's the only reason why the job market sucks right now. So I think I'm trying to reassure them that it is a tool and not a replacement.
Yeah.
And that I'll give in a quick little anecdote and then I'll move on from it. The anecdote that I use all the time is, hey, when photographers saw stock media sites get more and more popular, the internet got more and more popular. When I started, it was like all on CDs. Again, dating myself. Just the water's warm.
We've had people that have been on the show that talk about T-squares, and I was like, what are you talking about?
I've seen those in museums.
Yeah.
So stock photos sites are now, my clients all have access to all the exact same resources that I have. They all have Adobe Creative Cloud. They have all the stock clips that I use. They can reach out to all the people that I use in terms of crews and all. Like, I don't gatekeep any resources. They have everything that I have, or they have access to everything I have. One, that's a little bit different. It didn't always used to be that way. And now with AI tools, it's exactly the same. They can all sign up for the same things on it. What I can produce, whether it's on a stock photo site or, you know, using Adobe Creative Cloud or whatever the program is, it doesn't even really matter anymore, or AI tools, is different than what the clients can produce. And the reality is that has everything to do with what I input. My prompts, my searches for stock photos, the way I take those and combine those elements. Those are ingredients for a recipe. And so if I get the same set of ingredients in front of me, I'm a terrible cook. If I get the same ingredients in front of me and then a world-class chef gets the same ingredients, whose meal would you rather cook or eat? So that is what we're talking about here, is how those decisions get made. And so in summation, I think what I'm trying to tell the students is don't dial down on I do logos, or don't dial down on or embrace what it is that makes a brand work, or a visual brand work, or a logo work, and then utilize that in a variety of things, because that's an echo chamber. Like, there's a dozen things that a company needs related to that, and you should be the one to help them architect that and pull it all together.
Yeah.
So think broadly, I think, and be a chef and not an ingredient producer. And when you sit down and use all of those tools, let's be clear, 5 years, all the tools that we're using now are going to be different again. That evolution is going to continue to happen. And if you're not in the kitchen making meals every day, other people are going to come in and do it faster, better, and cheaper, and you're going to get into it. So
another great lesson. And I would say it's interesting because it sounds like you're leaning into AI in the same way you leaned in to learn video and learn everything else you've learned over the years to be multifaceted in everything you're doing.
I think it's fantastic. What I've been telling people is I use it for my process, not my product.
Yeah.
And so I was able to, I went on vacation a couple years ago, and of course, as soon as I sat down in a beach chair and my mind was quiet, I had an idea for a script and for something that was, due in a month or two. And so I voice memoed it to my phone. And when I got back to the house, the vacation house, later that day, I took all of that, created my treatment document, and then I went to Midjourney and created all the pre-vis for a 60-second spot. All in, I took an hour to do that. I think back about 10 years when I had to do that pre-vis and treatment for a spot or even a campaign or whatever like that, weeks. I got to find the right stock photos. This isn't right. Maybe I can shoot something. I mean, it would so difficult to communicate an idea well. And if I didn't get the right visuals on it, I can't sell the client on it. They got to see it. Now it is unbelievable what I can do with that kind of automation in Midjourney or some other platform like that to put what's in my head in pixels that quickly. And then we go shoot it. We go use people to execute that vision. And it's not even good for me to sell it to the client, but my DP can see it, and it's like, I know exactly what's in Hut's head right here. Like, we're going to do this and all that stuff. And it's just another thing that I'm like, this used to be the worst part of the project, and now it's the best.
Man, it's awesome to hear you say that, because, I mean, some of the most creative directors, you being one of them, have all said the same thing of like how much time savings, how they could just explain an idea to a client in a different way of saying, hey, here's how we were thinking about this, but this was built in AI. We would actually do it live, but just so you can see what it could look like. And hearing you say that's, inspiring. So, and a lot of creative directors are leaning into that now. So, well, you founded FoxFuel. You guys all left to come together and start FoxFuel with a CEO that's got a huge personality, and love Colton to death, and he's the guy you want in the room, right?
Absolutely.
He's going to sell anything. Ice cubes to Eskimos is what I always tell them. But anyway, and then, your CTO who's building all the websites and everything, and all the, executing on a lot of the technology. Like, I know over the years you probably have had a big disagreement, and maybe talk about like that with all kinds of different personalities. They always say having 3 founders is a pretty difficult thing to do when you're in business, but and maybe how'd you guys work through that?
I mean, I here's what I would say about it, and the thing I would caveat is if you asked all 3 of us, I think you'd get 3 different answers. But in my opinion, one of the things that's worked really well is like we're friends first. Like we just genuinely like each other. We didn't necessarily see each other and say, hey, we can all make a bunch of money, let's get together. It was more like we like working together. And the agency that we were at, it was kind of more about removing what wasn't working and moving forward with what was.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that kind of like minimalist approach. And I think we got lucky on some of the decisions. We also got lucky too, because Nashville has just been a unending blessing to us. To start a company in 2015, I mean, we really did just fall ass backwards into success. I mean, there's so much business to be had, and we are, even the quality of the work has improved substantially and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we've definitely been significant growth, but we were good when we started. And so we had a lot of things going for us. The truth is, we haven't had any huge disagreements. There have been different takes on client work and, us having tension and discussion. I would hardly even say arguments. But for me, it was kind of the part of the process that I've already been part of. I got to go another round with the accounts team about this, and sometimes, drawing dispersion. It's been known to happen that accounts and creative might have a different interpretation. Mm-hmm. So some of that I kind of actually take comfort in, is that is happening, and knowing that tension and discussion leads to more bulletproof work.
Yeah.
We've already gone through. So there's definitely been some of that, but ultimately the three of us kind of want different things, but I think that there's enough autonomy and space in that it's really worked well. So yeah, we've heard and seen the same things. Three founders, it's hard to work, make that work. It's another, completely different dynamic, but it has just worked really well for us. Yeah. And I think too that we've got our clear delineations on who does what, but one of the things that I picked up from my time in EO was finders, minders, and grinders. And so basically everybody falls into one of those three categories. So finders is definitely squarely Colton, right? Let me get in a room, let me get people excited about this idea. And that idea sometimes is just working with us, right? Mm-hmm. Or, hey, how can we help you develop that? And then they go on, and Colton has really also helped us like network in terms of agency partnerships and all that kind of stuff. And just in the business community, I mean, he is a fantastic connector. He is a great people person and all that. And so he just really embodies that finder role. And then you have minders, which would be me. And that is, what are we doing? Let's make sure we're thinking through, the big picture here. What does the client need? What's the creative vision? How we execute? Do we have the right team in place? All that kind of stuff. And then we have Joe, who's the grinder. Joe, and I've written about this on the blog too, but it's like, I always say that he's like the one to make sure like things don't blow up, right? And it's just like very thoughtful and methodical, and just a really good antidote for Colton and I's, overlooking details or potential pitfalls with projects. And I mean, both of those guys are truthfully two of the smartest people I've ever met. And so I got lucky with that too. And so that's just been a really good, I just think we all make each other better on that, right? And because we each represent one of those roles, finders, minders, and grinders, it has really given us kind of like a piece that's even beyond like a, do I develop or do I, create, or do I, you know what I mean? It's more of a, who am I personality wise, and what are my tendencies, and how do I use that, at FoxFuel? Because I'm not just a creative director at FoxFuel. I do a lot of things, right? And both my partners can say that as well. And I think but they all are doing their specific finder, minder, or grinder role. Hopefully you can get some ad dollars from the app Grinder on this.
There you go.
New market there for you.
We're going to ask for a sponsorship.
There you go. But yeah, it's I think that I love categorizing those types of things in that. And to me, it gives it a new lens to kind of look through on. And I also use that when I meet clients. Yeah. What is this person? Are they a grinder? Do they like to go away for a couple days and work on something? And that tells me something about how I need to present and work with them versus the other two. So
man, well, I can see a short clip coming out about about this section. So it's awesome. But I guess when you just leading into that, like you've got, iron sharpens iron, and it's like if you don't have healthy disagreements, like you'll never get the best work. And I do see it on the flip side that one of the founders shuts down because, there is a little bit of tension, and
Sure.
and so they never are able to grow or, do their best work. So it's great to hear that's how you guys get your best work out, is challenging each other and, having that healthy tension that happens.
And it works well sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think everybody has different comfort levels with it too. I definitely, I don't really shy away from that. I kind of like it a little bit. I don't invite it. I'm ultimately somebody who wants, peace, but I also want pride in the work, right? And sometimes it does need a little bit of that. I'll just take something that's half baked, and we use Slack a lot, and it's kind of like our informal place, and I'll be like, and I'll just put it in our creative channel. And really what I'm hoping for is arrows. Shoot some arrows at it, and I'm not feeling confident about this right now, and that's not always the case. But sometimes I'm like, I don't know, what do you think about this? And just hearing people react to it will either make me feel more confident about it or less confident about it, and that tells me something. Sometimes I take it and I'm like, that's trash. I'm gonna move on to something else. And so that vulnerability is so important for everybody on all of that. But you have to be in a place where you feel like that somebody's gonna react in a way that's helpful. That doesn't always happen. People have agendas and all that kind of stuff, and
good point.
it still hurts. I just hide it better than I did when I was, in my 20s. But I still don't like somebody shitting on my idea.
Yeah.
It's not a good feeling. So,
Well, what, looking forward 15 years from now, what legacy do you want the Nashville community to know about FoxFuel and about Hutz?
About me, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the ship's already sailed on that. For FoxFuel, I mean, the line that we kind of use that I think drives our culture, it's very simple, but it's very on the nose. It's do great work with people that you love. I think at the end of the day, because the company was founded by 3 people who respect and love each other, and as friends first and foremost, and as humans, that definitely kind of rides it. And plus, I think we've done a really good job most of the time of hiring people who really truly care about what it is that they do, right? I like to say, if we're hiring a developer or a designer or anybody, they would do this in some capacity whether we were paying them or not. And so we're just kind of co-opting their time and saying, we want you to do that with us a little bit. And that sounds trite to say, but most companies are filled with people that would not do that. And so there's a little bit of that passion that's baked in. So I would say I want us to be known as that, a place of people that care about each other and don't try to chase the shallow things or the things that might look good on a spreadsheet or whatever. It's more about good work and good people. That to me is a legacy on it. I love being involved with the schools because I just want a student to be like, FoxFuel's badass and they're cool, and maybe I can get to work there and maybe not. That matters more to me than a healthcare CEO liking my work.
Yeah.
Getting the validation of your peers and stuff like that is unfortunately important to me. And so I very much love that. And so I think that's one of the reasons why we like to spend a lot of time in that and kind of nurture that next group.
Doing great work with people you love.
Very
I love
simple.
that.
Yeah,
man.
that is a Colton Mulligan TM. He has trademarked that phrase, and I think it's dead on for what it is. We've had it on our front door and all that kind of stuff.
See, I was going to R&D that, rip off and duplicate, and that was going to be something we said. So
well, rip off and duplicate, you could TM that.
It's good to know that he's got it trademarked. So
yeah, no, it's definitely served us well. It's a great distilled message for what it is that we look at. And I think oftentimes the simplest way to say it's the best. And so that I think that really nails it. And I think too, for me in particular, I did have, nearly 10 years of agency experience. Some of that really great and some of it really terrible. And all of that kind of carried over for me on seeing examples or being privy to or participating in really the wrong ways to do it have been just as informative for me too. So my legacy for me is I think I want first and foremost, and again, this sounds so trite and simple, I just want people to know that I care. Like I'm trying to get better. It's not necessarily like getting somewhere. I just like somebody knowing that he cares about trying to do great work he's doing what he can to make that happen.
Yeah.
Like, I know that sounds crazy simple, but that's really all I want people to know about me in a professional sense.
You know, I'm so glad that we got a chance to do this. One, I felt like I knew you before this. I feel like I know you so much better now. I mean, your passion for people, your passion for the work, your passion for the learning is just, it is so obvious now to me, and I'm just glad that we had a chance to sit down and share this with the Nashville community, because hopefully there's people listening to the show that want to come to work for FoxFuel and work with you, and, you know, or agency owners that now want to partner with you. And that's the whole reason that we started the Spark podcast, and, you know, is just to connect great people. And, you know, I enjoy getting to meet so many great creatives, and it's been a pleasure having you on the show today.
Yeah, same here, man. Yeah, it's been great. And I agree with you. I think all the agencies need to collaborate more.
Yeah.
You know, I think that that's a big next step for the agency industry here, is for, you know, stop just thinking of them as competitors and more as collaborators. I think would be a big thing. I think there's a huge amount of opportunity for everybody in that.
That mindset of abundance is going to grow the creative community of Nashville. So
Yep.
excited you're a part of it, and all you're doing for the Nashville creative community and agency community, and teaching and all the students. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on the show. And thank you all for joining us again today. Really great episode. I hope you get as much out of it as I did. If you would, please rate, review, and subscribe to the channel, just so we can get this out to more creatives around Nashville, more agency owners and students that need to hear this coming out of college. We'll see you next week on The Spark.
And that's a wrap on this episode of The Spark from Creative Assembly. Thanks for spending time with us and exploring the minds shaping Nashville's creative future. If you're walking away more inspired, connected, or energized, that's exactly the point. A big thank you to our sponsor, Snapshot, and the incredible team behind the scenes who make this show possible. Your support fuels every conversation and keeps collaboration alive. So if you haven't already, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, stay creative, stay curious, and keep that spark.